Now in this video, I'll be talking about how much I made in my first year as the first officer at a regional airline in the United States of America. I have to be honest with you, this wasn't anything significant at all. And I'm just going to put that at the front because it's nothing great to be proud of. But at the same time, it just reemphasizes some of the things that we pilots have to go through in order to achieve, what we desired, or just the passion of flying and getting paid to do it. Now, when I first moved here, I moved here to come do my flight training, which just was in 2010, and I was able to go and complete the training. And as you all know, or as you may know, that it's very expensive to finish, this training, because it takes a lot of time and a lot of money and the effort and education and all that is required to make it through training. Having made it through the training, you also have to then get your hours to become qualified at the regional airline industry, especially in the aviation, in the 121 world, pretty much in the United States. Now, in order for me to get this job, which I did in 2016, I had to get about 1,500 hours, instructing other people and just flying in general, flying these small planes like Cessna 172s and so on. And that was what I did to get the hours. I finally got the hours. And one of the steps that I took in order to make sure that I was putting my future in the right place in terms of the job that I'm securing, I made sure that I was securing a job with a place that had a future, somewhere that I could potentially, get to a major airlines a little bit easier. It's not easy to get into a major airline. That's one thing. The major airlines are considered like Delta, United, and American Airlines in the United States. So it's never easy to really get a job with this group of major airlines. So one of the things that I did was to go with a wholly owned airline, and that way there's this what I call like a flow program that I would be able to secure by working with this regional in the United States. Now, I have to be honest with you, as a child growing up, it's always been my goal to achieve this dream, which I'm glad I did. And that's why I was able to stick through the difficult times. And even till now, it's quite challenging to still be in the aviation world with all the follows that are going on and all the job cuts that are going on and reduced pay and so on. But in my first year, this was in 2016, I have to make it clear, numbers have really changed, because in 2020, obviously, if you're working with a regional airline, you're probably making a lot more than what I made. As a first officer in 2016, I made about $38,000. And yes, that's excluding taxes. By the time you include the taxes, it came down to about $4,000. And that's nothing compared to what I even made as an instructor. And as a flight instructor, I actually made a little bit more than that. This was not new to me. It was something I expected. It was something I knew I knew what I was getting into. And yeah, I had to suck it up. I had to just suck it up and do what I had to do to get the hours and be able to move up in ranks. But the important thing that I'm sharing about this video is that it's not necessarily about how much I made. It was actually how much I was able to save with the amount of money I made. In that same year, that was when I actually saved my first $10,000 at this airline. Now, how did I do that? And that's exactly what I want to take away from this video. The first thing was I had to make sure that I was living at a cheap location, a cheap area, make sure that it was safe, but at the same time cheap. Not that I was living like in New York or Washington, D.C. or San Francisco or something like that. No, it's nothing like that. I had to live in a very cheap place. Secondly, I had a roommate. Obviously, having a roommate definitely helps. The third thing was I didn't have any debt. And fortunately, I was sponsored by my parents through my training, and that's something I hold them big time for that. But the point here is that I didn't have any car loans. I didn't have any form of debt that could hold me back in achieving that goal. So I made sure that I didn't have any car loans. And that was one of the things that I really made sure I avoided up until now. Like, I still do not have any car loans, because I know that having a car is one of those things that reduces in value. You never make your money back on it, and just doesn't make sense to me buying a car on a loan. The other thing I also made sure was my expenses on things like maybe my phone or things like gadgets, clothes, shoes. To be honest, I didn't buy any new clothes. I didn't buy any new phones. And talking about new phones, I just realized that I've only changed my phone in 10 years. I've only changed it twice. In 10 years I've been in the United States, I've only changed my phone twice. Right now, I still use my iPhone 6S, which still does everything. The camera is not as great as the new iPhones, and I know that, but I have a great camera if I need to take quality picture. But I usually just got a camera anyway for YouTube. So the point is, I made sure I avoided unnecessary expenses. And that's something I want you to take away, because at the end of the day, you can make 100,000, and if you spend 100,000, you remain broke. If you make 500,000 and you spend 500,000, you will remain broke. And it's not necessarily about how much you make, but how much you can keep through the amount of money made. Remember that at the end of the day, your lifestyle dictates how much money can be saved. If you have an high taste for expensive things, you will end up spending a lot of money on unnecessary things. And if you can just control those impulse expenses, the things that you see that you like and you just spend money on, you'll probably do well financially. And that's just what I wanted to share with you in this video. Please, if you have found value in this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, consider subscribing to the channel, because the goal of my channel is to share information like this that you may find inspiration through. And obviously I get inspiration from other channels as well. But this is just my own 2 cents. I'll see you next time.